Dunkirk was one of the best war films of this time. It brings a warlike feeling to the audience, pulling them into a war environment, and it does so through its amazing use of sound. Sound in Dunkirk is mostly done in post-production, but it's this extraordinary use of sound that gives it a sense of realism, suspense, and immersion. One thing I noticed about Dunkirk was that the sound in the movie frequently revolves around timing. There is a ticking sound, constant throughout the entire film. As the ticking ramps up, so does the viewer's heartbeat. We can see the same technique in Interstellar. Another motif was the snap sound effect, usually heard as a bullet pierced through metal. The purpose of the sound was to jolt the viewer, just as the troops would have. This establishes a connection between the characters and the viewers. This is different to the technique used in The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan uses low-pitched instrument sounds when a conflict is about to occur, which prepares the audience for what is to come. However, even though Dunkirk has some instances where it does the same, it prefers to surprise the viewer instead of foreshadowing suspense. In Dunkirk, bullets start flying and bombs explode out of nowhere. This creates suspense because constant surprise keeps the audience on their toes. Throughout the whole movie, there is also little dialogue, scarcity of which makes what little dialogue there is more powerful. And in some busy scenes, it can be hard to understand what the characters say. This was done to add realism to the film.
No, leave it, Gov. Never trust a sailor on dry land. You're best off out of it.
In contrast, Saving Private Ryan initiates most of its affection the audience has to the characters through dialogue. The dialogue specifies who the viewer should care for, focusing the audience on these in particular. Dunkirk is different. It allows the viewer to feel for the Allied troops, understanding their struggles and rooting for them, although not much is known about any of them. Furthermore, the production of the score of movies can vary vastly. For example, in The Lion King, vocals are a motif in the score itself.
On the endless round, it's the circle of life.
The use of vocals helps express emotion effectively, but while this is an effective way of conveying and creating emotion, Dunkirk used a completely different technique to achieve the same. Due to the lack of dialogue, the sense of uneasiness throughout the film is mostly achieved through Hans Zimmer's tense and unresolved score. Sonically, the score is comprised out of harsh horns, string elements which never seem to diminish, through the use of the shepherd's stone. This gives the illusion of an increasing intensity or pace, as the viewer is reminded that the soldiers don't have much time to escape as the enemy closes in. However, the shepherd's stone is actually just an illusion. In fact, the score remains constant throughout. The overall score feels dark, and even as the miracle of Dunkirk actually happens and the dust settles, the string section swells up, and you can't help but feel relieved, but the score never seems to settle.
Go!
It stays at this moderate level of intensity until the film comes to an end, as if the plot is never resolved or reached its conclusion, and I think that is because it mirrors the sentiment of the British soldiers, since yes, most were able to escape, but at the end of the day, the war was not over, and it wouldn't be for another couple of years.